It's the only podcast that brings two cities together, a rivalry, two schools, 438 miles between each other. It's the one and only The Fifth Quarter Podcast, a college sports fanatic podcast. Good morning, everybody. I am George Koff. You're listening to this great podcast with myself, George Koff, and my co-host, Desmond McLaughlin. Good morning, Desmond.
Good morning, George.
And we apologize for releasing it today here on Thursday, October the 4th. We are in October now. Desmond was not feeling well, so we had to postpone from Tuesday to Thursday. But that's okay. We're still going to break down last week's action, which seems like forever, and we're going to look ahead to Saturday's action, which will be a little bit easier to look ahead to because we've got some spreads and some over-unders already and some big Vegas lines. But let's get right into it. What do you think? Let's get it, right?
Well, George, I think What do you say, George?
Let's get it.
Let's get this.
So, we're going to start with the A&M game. Since we started with Texas Tech the last two times, we're going to start with A&M. They played Arkansas in the Southwest Classic in Jerry World, AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Arkansas was not the team we saw 3 weeks ago against North Texas and Colorado State. They definitely looked better and improved. The Aggies almost lost it multiple times. It was an Aggie 24-17 victory. We ate some bacon. I had bacon for breakfast on Saturday morning. It felt good. You know, I thought we were going to just roll in. Like I said last week, 40 points on the board. We were just going to roll in and get that win, look ahead to Kentucky. And instead, we must have been looking way too far ahead to Kentucky because I don't understand why we played. I think in the last 6 drives, we only had one touchdown, 5 punts. So that's definitely something you can't do against good teams like Auburn and Mississippi State and I guess even LSU too. But it is the 4th time in 7 years that the game has come down to the last drive, specifically a game-saving interception, this time by Donovan Wilson, which if you can stay in the game, he's been ejected for targeting a few times this year, but if you can stay in the game, I mean, he's a man. He's not just a boy, he's a man, and he can get some nice interceptions. So, Donovan, if you're listening to us, thanks. Thanks for that pick. But we have beaten them 7 years in a row, so that feels good. And at this point, it seems like an Aggie tradition to beat Arkansas. So maybe we'll start our own little streak like Kentucky did against Florida. But speaking of Kentucky, they come into our house on Saturday evening, 6 p.m. on ESPN. We are 6.5-point favorites currently, which is surprising because they're 13th ranked. But I think Kyle Field's going to be very intimidating for them. It's going to come down to the passing game because the rushing defense are going to go back-to-back. You know, there's not going to be much gain. We're going to stop Benny Snell, and they're going to stop Trevion Williams. It's going to come to the passing game. We get the advantage any day of the week, even with Starkel. Mond or Starkel, you still have the better advantage. Aggies get it down at second half. Hold on until the last possession. Once again, 35-28 A&M, possible overtime. What do you think?
Well, I know Kentucky is ranked off 15, but I'd have to agree with you, George. I think Texas A&M will come out and win this game. I don't know about 35-28. I'd probably give them a little more cushion. Probably somewhere around like 47-31 probably.
Okay. I can see that. I just think it might be where we get a big lead and then they score with a chance, you know, and then we punt it back to them because they stop us or whatever.
Right.
So they have a chance to get that final touchdown. I don't necessarily it might be one of those where the score looks closer than the game really was. But I think you'll just have to wait and see. One thing that did really impress me about the A&M game, though, was our special teams. Finally, for the first time this season, finally got something going on the special teams. If there was a bright spot, we had a 100-yard kickoff return touchdown to start the game. To start the college football weekend, to Saturday. Jashawn Corbin returned it 100 yards. And so that had to be, it felt good. You know, yes, we had a rest of the kicking game needed some help, but I think overall special teams finally improved enough to where you could look and say, yes, this is an improvement. But I think we'll just stop on A&M there for the time being. Maybe get back to them later. But next up, we're going to talk about the Red Raiders. They were ranked for the first time this season, playing West Virginia and the Mountaineers in Lubbock. Desmond, give us a recap. Give us a breakdown of what happened.
First off, George, I know I said I had Texas Tech winning. It was close. I was very close to my prediction. Let's also not ignore the fact that West Virginia is now a top 10 team. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how Texas Tech played. I just wish they would have had the aggressiveness that they had in the second half. I wish they would have had it in the first half. What I noticed was that in the first half, Will Greer, Heisman candidate, looked
that's right. That's right. My Heisman candidate.
Kyler Murray. He looked way too comfortable in the pocket. He had too much time. He looked at ease. It was almost as if it was just a scrimmage in practice. He looked so comfortable out there. He looked like a quarterback.
I mean, well, and that's what we've seen the whole season from West Virginia, and that's what I was curious with Texas Tech was how is that defensive line going to break through? And in the first half, it looked like Will Greer was just literally standing there. It was like it gave me flashbacks of Johnny when Johnny would just have Johnny Manziel when he'd have all that time in the pocket. Yes, he would start to scramble, but he'd have all that time because the O-line was so dominant that you, as a quarterback, all you have to do there is just make a good throw. Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about, okay, I've got to throw it right now because I'm getting pressured. You just can sit there, wait for your receiver to get open, and throw it.
It was 28-7 after the first quarter.
Ooh.
And but then Bowman was injured with that collapsed lung, and they put in Jet Duffy, which I was talking to some people who work in the department here, our sports department at Texas Tech, and the Texas Tech offense isn't used to having a mobile quarterback. So it'll be interesting who they put in next week. But I think Jet Duffy definitely did a great job last week, scoring touchdown on his legs, getting Texas Tech back in the game where we actually had a chance to force overtime. But, that late pick six sealed the game for West Virginia.
I mean, yeah, I saw that. But you know what? It did come down close. And after Bowman did go out, it almost seemed like the Texas Tech offense got jump-started, too.
Right,
yes. It's interesting to think that, yes, Bowman's been the quarterback since he started the second game, but he played against Ole Miss in the season opener, and to see him progress, and then all of a sudden the offense just take a tumble, and usually when you bring in a third stringer, a quarterback who's not necessarily used to the offense, you're going to struggle. But here is the exact opposite. They didn't struggle. Instead, they improved, and they were getting gains. They were getting big plays, which I'm with you. I think I'll be curious to see who they start next week. But is Bowman going to be cleared to play? That's the question.
I'm not sure yet.
Because, I mean, and this bye week will definitely help.
Yes.
With that.
We'll have a week to regroup, make sure all injuries are good, and then I think Kingsbury would definitely make his decision by then.
What was the injury Bowman had?
Collapsed lung.
Oh, that. I think they start third string. What's his name? What's third string?
Duffy.
I think they start Duffy because you don't want to take the risk that Bowman goes down again and then you lose him for the whole season. You'd rather him regroup, recover, and rehab a little bit, and then play him later on.
And also, George, I don't have a problem with mobile quarterback. You see these powerhouse teams, like a lot of them have great mobile quarterbacks. As A&M had Johnny Manziel, Alabama has Jalen, Tua,
yeah.
Oklahoma has Kyler Murray. It's a league with mobile quarterbacks.
Well, and you had Kelly Bryant at Clemson. Of course, that's a different story in of itself. I mean,
we'll get to that in a second. It helps.
And it makes it more exciting, and it gives your offense more potential too, because that quarterback all of a sudden doesn't have to. The pressure's not on him to make a nice throw. The pressure is on him now to make a play, and scramble out if he needs to, or get a 10-yard gain on the run, or do a quarterback design run. Do something that throw in different plays that is going to change the offense and get put the defense on their heels. If you get what I mean.
So I just want to say that Duffy had more rushing yards than any of the other Texas Tech running backs and West Virginia running backs.
How many did he have?
He had 86.
Wow. So it definitely was a passing game. So, so we'll just say, I'll just leave this with this. I'll leave that conversation with this. Texas Tech will play TCU on Thursday, October the 11th. That's a week from today.
Big game.
Big game in prime time. I just will say that my prediction, 42-35, was almost spot on. And I told you, Desmond. I did say that Texas Tech was going to get burned by an air raid offense. I called it a week prior with Oklahoma State, but obviously what they learned in Oklahoma State did not help them with Will Grier because he's just one level higher.
370 yards. 370 yards.
He's one level higher than, I think, the Oklahoma State quarterback. They nicknamed him like Corn Dog or something. I don't know. But, I guess it's nice to be right in some cases and wrong in the others. Moving ahead.
George, speaking of Oklahoma, going to the next topic, can I please ask you a question, George?
Go ahead.
Why did Oklahoma drop second week in a row?
Good question. I think it also has to do with why is Notre Dame not in the top 5? Can we get to that, please? They are 4-0. They've defeated Michigan. They've defeated Wake Forest, that's not that big of a win. They defeated Vanderbilt, which is an SEC. Anytime you beat an SEC school, even if it's doormat of the SEC, that's a big win. They're cruising. And I think, if anything, they're better than Clemson. I am sorry, but they are better than Clemson. I don't necessarily think better than LSU, but if they're better than Clemson, that means that they should be number 5, not number 6. If you see what I mean.
I see what you mean, George. I'm just saying, people are sleeping on this Oklahoma team, George.
Oh,
Kyle Murray is the right to the Heisman Trophy this year, George.
It's Grier, Murray, and
Tua. Yes, without a doubt. But what I did not like is when I read earlier that, I have a friend who knows Murray, and he tells me that sometimes Murray has a little bit of a entitlement problem. He feels like he's owed everything.
Yeah.
And I read that he was late to practice, which is why
he didn't start.
Yes, that's why he did not start. But he still came out through for 432 yards and had a total of 7 touchdowns, George.
Yeah, I mean, they were playing Baylor too. But give Baylor credit. They have been better than they were last year and the few years prior to that. So they are definitely, Oklahoma being Baylor that much is expected, but the fact that Baylor got 33 points on Oklahoma's defense also says something too.
Yes.
So I think you have to look at Oklahoma and not just with Kyler Murray, because that's what everyone's going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at Kyler Murray. They're going to be looking at how the offense produces and everything like that. They're not going to be looking at just they forget about the defense, and then when the AP voters look at the defense and they say, "Oh my gosh, they allowed 33 to Baylor," of course we're going to give them a drop until they can show us that they are dominant in all facets of the ball.
But let's also, this is something we've been talking about through our podcast about a certain team, which you know who, should not be in the college football playoffs due to the lack of difficulty in their schedule.
Oh, and can we expand on that? That this specific team that we're talking about may have just lost their 2 best quarterbacks, one to a transfer and one to an injury, to now they're having to be playing with a 3rd string who took 8 snaps all season.
Also dropped to the 4th.
Oh yes.
One more that will be the college football playoffs, which I don't think they deserve to be in the college football playoffs.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. I would not be surprised if Notre Dame somehow sneaks in because Clemson is is up and down. And
even if Clemson goes undefeated.
Yeah, even if Clemson goes undefeated, if we're looking at a 1-loss Notre Dame team or undefeated Notre Dame team and a Clemson undefeated or 1-loss team, I'm putting the Notre Dame team. If I'm the committee, they've got a better strength of schedule.
Exactly.
Their FPI is going to be higher. Their overall rating is going to be higher. If you put Clemson ahead because they're a conference champion and Notre Dame below them because they are independent and they don't have a conference, then you're crazy. This is the one time where I'd say Notre Dame deserves to be in the top top 4.
I'm surprised Notre Dame is not top 4 right now because they jumped Oklahoma. I'm guessing because Oklahoma didn't play someone as strong as Notre Dame. But if Notre Dame's undefeated and has the same record as Clemson and has beaten more difficult teams, then they really do deserve to be in the top four right now.
I mean, we keep forgetting. Hold on, I forgot. Notre Dame played Stanford yesterday or on Saturday, and you know what they did? They triple or doubled the amount of points that Stanford had.
Yeah.
It was 38-17, I think, was the final. And I think that just showed to us that Stanford is overrated. When they played Oregon, like really, I mean, we had said that too. We said that last week, but I still think even showing the fact that Notre Dame can put up that many points on even a top 15 ranked team, like if they weren't 7, if they were really 15th, that's still a big deal. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But Colorado, glad they're in the top 25 now. They deserve to be in. They were undefeated. Kentucky moved up again. But the really interesting thing is that AP voters don't have any two-loss teams in there yet. They're all one-loss or undefeated. You know, the highest-ranked one-loss team is Auburn, who's ranked 8th. And the lowest unbeaten team, undefeated team, is number 23, NC State. Which leads me to believe that if we see one of these teams go get their second loss this week or in another week, which team would still be ranked in the top 10 if they get their second loss? Who are you looking at? Because at this point, the AP voters are like, no, we're only going to look at undefeated and one-loss teams. So who do you got if you see somebody taking a second loss but still staying in the top 10? Who would you go with?
That's a hard one, George. I actually don't know.
Maybe I'll throw out some one-loss teams for you right now. We got Auburn, who's sitting at 3-1. Penn State, who's sitting at 3-1. Stanford's at 3-1. Michigan's 3-1. Miami's got a loss. Wisconsin, Oregon.
If I were to be honest, I'd probably say Penn State.
I would too. I'd say Penn State or Auburn because
didn't they only lose to Ohio State by like what, a point or something like that?
1 point, and it was because of a crappy 4th and 5 call.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Penn State or Auburn, and Auburn only lost to LSU by 1 point as well, or 2, 1 or 2.
Which is a very strong team right now.
Correct. I mean, either way, I think it's gonna interesting to watch those two teams, see how they play out the rest of the season. Because if Penn State takes another loss in the Big Ten, they're done. I don't think they can come back from that. That's remotely impossible. That would mean Ohio State would need to lose twice for them to make it into the Big Ten championship game. And with Auburn, they need LSU to lose once to get at least close to making it to the SEC championship game. So we'll see. But don't be surprised if we see more teams next week, because I have a feeling we have 3 ranked matchups this week, and I have a feeling that there might be some changing of the guard at some point.
Can I just throw something? Let me just throw something out real quick, George. I don't really follow this team, mostly because they're mainstream, but I don't know. I continue to see the scores. I'm like, they put up like so many points. I think this is one of the strongest Alabama teams we've seen for a while.
Oh,
they are constantly putting up numbers.
No, they're comparing this team scoring wise to Bear Bryant's 1975 or 76 team in Alabama. So, yes, you're right. We haven't seen a team like this in a while at Alabama, or just in college football in general. And I think, seeing how many points they get up as we get into their SEC schedule, because they've only played A&M and put 23 up. We put 23 up on them. Mm-hmm. So let's see what they can do against Arkansas, what they can do against LSU, what they can do against. They played Ole Miss as well. Ole Miss put 7 points. So we'll see what they can do against LSU, Georgia, Tennessee. Not Georgia, just Tennessee. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But what they can do against the SEC slate, and then come back and look at their records, because you can play Louisiana Lafayette every week, and even if you're not Alabama, and still put up 35 or 40, 50 points. So it's expected. I mean, I think the spread for that game was 49. 49. Bama was a 49-point favorite. And people still lost their money. Because you know what the final score was? 56-14.
Mm-hmm.
That's 42 points. People still lost, meaning that ULL covered. They covered the spread. That's crazy to think about. That the spread was 49 just for one game. But speaking of one game, we know football, and we are very good with college football because that's what we enjoy watching. But
Naturally.
it's October, and October always brings some fun, exciting moments, including postseason baseball in the major leagues. And after our tiebreakers on Monday, and our wild card games on Tuesday and Wednesday, we now know the postseason matchups for the ALDS and NLDS. And so we're just going to talk through them very quickly. We'll do like a lightning speed round, where we're just going to kind of talk who we have and why, how many games, and then quickly move forward so we can get to our big games of the week. So Desmond, first up we have the Indians and Astros. Home field is for the Astros. I've got Astros in 4, possible sweep. They're just better than the Indians. Indians playing in the worst division in the AL. And they're lucky to even be in the playoffs. What do you got?
Yes, agree. Astros 4-1.
So 5 games, you said.
5 games, yeah.
Okay. Next up, the other ALDS is the Yankees-Red Sox.
Good matchup. Good matchup.
Age-old rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing this one since the 1920s. Home field is for Boston for the whole postseason because they've got the best record in baseball. I got the Red Sox in 4. But don't be surprised if something happens. What do you got?
I got Red Sox in 6.
6? It's only a 5-game series, Desmond.
Just kidding.
So what do you got? So you got Red Sox in 4 then?
Yeah.
You good? Hey, we make mistakes. It's NBA is the one that's got all 7 best of 7. So I'll give you a mulligan on that one. So let's try that again. Yankees and Red Sox, how many you got?
Red Sox in 4.
Okay. On the NL side, the Braves and Dodgers, home field for the Dodgers. This is my big, I guess, not upset, but big surprise. Braves are going to beat the Dodgers in 5 games. Could make a World Series run. What do you got?
I actually have Dodgers winning in 5 games.
So
yes.
Both game 5s, but different results. In the other NLDS, I have Rockies. It's the Rockies and the Brewers, home field in Milwaukee. This will be a tough series, go back and forth. Rockies may provide some sort of surprise, but Milwaukee wins in 4 games.
I have Colorado winning in 5.
Oh, okay. So
yes.
My prediction right now for the NLCS, the championship series in the NL, I have the Braves and Brewers. And I have in 6 games, Braves going to the World Series. So for yours, you said the Rockies and the Dodgers. So who do you have going to the World Series from the NL?
Dodgers winning in 4 games.
Sweep. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then on the American League side, my predictions would have been the Astros and Red Sox, which means that would be home field for the Red Sox. Astros in 7 games, stun the best team in baseball, return to the World Series to defend their title, and yeah. What do you got?
I have the Red Sox winning in 6 games.
Okay, so that would mean my World Series matchup is Braves and Astros, and yours would be the Red Sox in Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go with you first. Red Sox, Dodgers. How many games? Who wins and why?
Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba. Yes, sir, George. I have the Boston Red Sox winning this in 5 games. I don't think there'll be competition, George. Fenway Park better be ready. They better be excited because the championship's going back to Boston, Massachusetts, baby.
Aren't you a homer? Aren't you a Boston fan anyway?
My dad is. My dad raised me up to like the Red Sox.
And the
Also
Patriots.
Patriots. I'm not really a huge Patriots fan anymore. But no, still have a soft spot for the Red Sox. Still have a soft spot for Ortiz, Pedroia, the greats. But yes, Red Sox definitely.
Okay. For me, Braves and Ash.
Don't take it out. I definitely think either Red Sox or Astros. One of those teams will win.
I think the AL is going to win this year again. I think I got the Braves and Astros. In 6 games, the Braves push the Astros to their limit. But
George, going
but
against your hometown.
no. But for the first time in 15 years, we will have a repeat World Series champion. I've got the Astros in 6 games as your world champions yet again. And you know what? It hurts me to say that as a Rangers fan, but I got to go with H-Town till we drown. And it just Houston is right now the best team in baseball. Red Sox have kind of just been up and down, and that ALCS between the Red Sox and Astros, if that does happen, that will decide the World Series champion, guaranteed. So, hope you enjoyed that segment for you baseball lovers. I know we had some people wanting to hear some baseball requests. We'll keep you posted on the postseason, but just know that college football is our forte, and that's what we like to break down. Baseball, we watch it, but it's more of a, I guess, homer situation, don't you think? So,
Yes.
Our next segment is one that everyone looks forward to. The 5 and 5 with 5 in 5. I even butchered that one, but okay. So it's 5 games in approximately 5 minutes with 5 takeaways and 5 opinions or such. Don't hold us accountable to those. We just like to come up with fun names on the 5th quarter. Because, the 5th quarter, 5, Okay. Desmond's upset watch record so far this season is 1-3. He
Yikes.
incorrectly picks the Texas Tech Red Raiders last week.
I was close.
He was close, but sorry, we're not playing spread here. We're playing outright. And I am 2-2 and incorrectly picked the Penn State. Penn State almost won. Again, almost they were close, but Ohio State pulled out that win. So this week, our 5 games, we're going to start with the first game. LSU, 5th-ranked LSU, goes into the Swamp to play number 22-ranked Florida Gators. Top 25 SEC matchup. Les Miles and Steve Spurrier, they're the Dos Equis guys now, the coaches. They've got a wager going. If the LSU Tigers win, Steve Spurrier's got to eat some grass, and if Steve Spurrier's Gators win, Les Miles has to wear one of Steve Spurrier's visors. Les Miles is going to be wearing a visor because, ladies and gentlemen, this is my upset watch. Florida is underrated. They are. Dan Mullen is doing something great right there in Gainesville. Don't be surprised to see an upset that will put LSU in a bind and leave people in Baton Rouge thinking, what's going on? What do you think?
I have LSU getting a fairly decent lead early, but I think there'll be some sort of a push or comeback towards the end. But I think LSU will still win the game. I have it 38-31 LSU.
Okay. Yeah, I have 27-20 UF. So, we'll see. Next up is 6th-ranked Notre Dame, which we just talked about should be in the top 5. Travels to Blacksburg to face the Hokies, Virginia Tech, 24th-ranked now, back in the rankings after beating number 22 Duke. This is a big primetime game. The Irish are looking to extend their undefeated record and stop an up and down Hokie team that's been good or bad. They've kind of just been not mediocre, but just up and down this year. Josh Jackson is questionable, supposedly. He's the quarterback for the Hokies. There's not been anything that's come out that said he won't play, but there hasn't been anything that's clarified that he will play. Look for a close first half, but quarterback play in a dominant second half gives Notre Dame the win. 38-23. Desmond, your take?
I don't think this will be in competition, George. I think Notre Dame will roll over Virginia Tech. Hopefully, they will move Clemson out of that top 4 spot. I have 34-17 Notre Dame.
Okay, oh wow. Okay, so that's a big. I definitely see Notre Dame putting up 30. We'll see if Virginia Tech can too. Next up is the biggest game of the week, according to ESPN. Number 19, the Texas Longhorns travel to Dallas to play the OU Sooners, number 7th ranked. They've gone down a little bit. This is the official AT&T Red River Shootout rivalry game that everybody loves to see. It's officially relevant again because Texas is ranked. So game day's there. Everyone's going to have a good time. Longhorns are playing well right now. So is Kyler Murray, but don't expect to see anything different from the Sooners. 31-28, just because the Red River Rivalry shootouts are always close. Desmond, what do you got?
I agree with the close game, George. I actually have Texas. Wait, no. Bad man. Kyler Murray's going to win him yet another one, George.
Score.
28-24. 28-24, George. And
Yeah, those
I
guys
must say, Oklahoma deserves to be in the top 4, George.
I agree. And you know what? The Red River game is always close. Doesn't matter who's ranked, who's not ranked. It's always close. Yeah, so I think the score is going to be deceiving, but Oklahoma will play as the better team. Our fourth game of this segment, Maryland travels on the road to Ann Arbor to face the Wolverines. In Ann Arbor, like I said, and it's an 11 o'clock kickoff, which could be a game that surprises people. The Terrapins, the Maryland Terrapins, have looked pretty good despite the upset to Temple a few weeks ago. You know, they did beat Texas, and the Wolverines did pull out a 2-minute drive in which people are now calling them the cardiac Wolverines because they just are giving people heart attacks before coming back. This was against Northwestern last week. And, I'm sorry, they're going to do it again this week. 35-28, Michigan wins. Just barely. What do you got, Desmond?
George, I agree with the win, but I think they'll roll over them. 47-24, George. Michigan beats Maryland.
Wow. Big win.
Yes. Yes, George.
And finally, game number 5. Boston College travels to Raleigh to play the North Carolina State Wolfpack, who's 23 ranked. They're undefeated as well. I think this game is going to be a fun one. Scoring is going to be put up there. Successes by each team is going to be back and forth. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. Wolfpack, because of home field advantage, get the win. 40-37. North Carolina State.
This is my upset game of the week, George. I have Boston College beating NC State. I'm actually going to change my score. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, 17-10. But I think my upset record is going to have a win to its total, George.
I think that's a good pick. I considered picking it, but you know what? I'm a risky man. Why not go for something that's a bit more exciting, like the SEC matchup? And finally, to end our podcast episode today, North Texas did lose, for all of you wondering. They did lose 29-27 to Louisiana Tech. That does not mean that I'm changing my prediction for the Conference USA or changing my small school. North Texas is still where my allegiance is. I have to wear that shirt on Saturday. I'm going to post a picture on my Instagram, my personal Instagram. So if you know me or you want to follow me, just shoot me a DM because I'm not going to be the happiest person. I'm going to wear as much Aggie gear as I can without covering the green. But I have to live up. I'm a man of my word. People are excited to see me wear it, so we're just going to go with that. How did Arizona State do this week, Desmond? I'm pretty sure they took another loss.
No, they beat Oregon State 52-24, George.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so they're 3-2. They're 3-2.
Yes, but they travel. Their next games are Colorado, Stanford, USC, and Utah. So it's pretty tough games there.
Colorado, Stanford, USC, and
Utah.
Ooh, that's a tough. Are they on the road or are they home away?
Not sure, but they still have to play Oregon too.
So what do you think? You think you're going to jump ship, or are you not?
No, George. I'm gonna stick with them.
Okay, I'll give you one more week, Desmond.
I think it's too late, George.
I'll give you one more week.
Okay.
I'll give you one more week because it'll be halfway through the season. If you want to jump ship, you can. Otherwise, you're stuck with that team, and we'll hold you accountable. But I guess that's all we have for on this Thursday morning. And if you want to contact us, we're looking for a guest next week. That's right. Starting next week, we will have a guest for most of the podcasts, and you can make picks. Our 5 for 5 segment will be the segment where you will join and make some picks, have some fun with us, laugh it out a little bit. Call an upset if you want. because we're always looking for upsets, right, Desmond?
Correct.
And so, yeah, contact us at the5qpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at the5qpodcast as well. Instagram, Twitter is same thing. Email is the same. You just add gmail.com to it. We'd love to hear from you. Continue to subscribe to our YouTube and to our SoundCloud. We're still trying to figure out better ways to get our podcast out there. So we'd love to hear you. So gig 'em Aggies, wreck 'em Tech, because I know Desmond is having some fun over there in Lubbock. But you've been listening to the fifth quarter so long. Take care and adios.
Adios.